Hello everyone and welcome back. So now you have seen and learned the concept about the SQLite database. We are going to see that in action now. So for that I'm going to create a new application. Let me just call it SQLite database SQLite database demo. Yeah, main activity, I'm going to create as empty. Great. So in this particular example, I'm going to create a main activity in which I will be having two edit texts, which will be used to put the data inside my database, and there will be two buttons, save and retrieve. And when you click on save, whatever you put on those two edit texts will be saved inside your database, SQLite database. For that, I will be creating a different SQLite Open Helper class, a different SQLite Open Helper subclass, and inside which I will be creating my database. And when you want to retrieve, you will be clicking on that load data button, and you will fetch the data from your database. Let's see this in action now. Let me just design a good UI here first. Okay. Here I can put SQLite database, and I will put, let me just increase the size to 30 sp, and I will be requiring two edit texts. Okay, great. Let me just put as edit ID to this guy as edit1 and match parent. I don't want any this, and here you can put let's say enter student name. Okay, great. That's it for this one, and then I will create another edit text. Place it right below the first one. Great, and I will call it inside this as a hint. I will call it enter your college name, and I will call it 2 as ID, and again match parent. Okay, beautiful. Now I will create two buttons. One will do what? One will say save. Another one will do load. Now, if you want to load a button, if you want to load the data in a particular view, maybe a text view, maybe a list, then you gotta create those views also, like drag and drop a text view here or a list view, and then you have to put the code accordingly, handle it. In my example, I'm just going to show you all the data in a toast, so that it will be much faster. But you know how to handle the text views or list views from your previous examples. So I would recommend to use recycler view because that's way faster than your list view. So now let's just go and put some on-click attribute inside this button. So on click of your save, do save. That's what I want in on click of save, and on click of this, do load. Great. So I will do what? I need the method of these. So alt enter. Same goes for this also. Alt enter. Great. So I will be putting the code here, which will be accessing my database here, and either I will be inserting into the database or I will be retrieving. For that, I need to create the database class, that is SQLite Open Helper class. But before that, I will be getting the access of both the edit text here, because I know I will be using them somehow. So edit E1, E2, let me just call that E1, E2, or let me just put a better nomenclature here, name and college. Okay. Now to get the access of name edit text, again text, find view by id r.id dot edit 1 college, again edit text, find view by id r.id dot edit 2. Great. So once you do that, now I will go ahead and create my SQLite database class. So for that I need to create a subclass which will be extending SQLite OpenHelper class. So I can just go and create a normal Java class. I will call it my core database, and I will extend SQLite OpenHelper class. On create will be is the method where you will be putting the code to create your tables and all, and on upgrade will be called whenever there is a change in the database version. We will talk about it. So next what I need is I need to also call the constructor of my parent class by calling the super. But before we do that, let me just create some constants here, that is your table constants or database constant. Let me just call it static final public private and string db name. Let me just call the db name as what do we call it? We call the db name as academy. Yeah. Instead of that, let's just call it education. Education. I can't think of any other any good names here, so let's just call it education. And static final, another attribute, private string. Let's just call this one as db table, and call this table as maybe students table. Yeah, students table. And static again final private and int db version. Now this here is the version of the database I'm creating right now. Why the version? Let's say today I decide to create two fields here, like name or age, or like name or age. But tomorrow I upgrade my database, I have one more column to add, then at that point of time I will upgrade the version. So what will happen now, I will go ahead and I will create the constructor of this. In the constructor I will provide the context object ct, and inside this I will put super, and super will call the constructor of this SQLite OpenHelper class, and it requires 4 arguments. First is context object itself, I will get it from here, and second is your database name, db name, which I have already defined. Third is your cursor factory. You will put null here, but if you have your own subclass of cursor, then you will be using the object of that here. And version here is the db version which you have just defined. So now remember that let's say in future you change the version name, and next time you initialize your SQLite anywhere in your activity or in your application, it will see that there is a change in the version name from the previous one, so it will always call your onUpgrade method. So that's when your onUpgrade method gets called. If there is a change in version, it knows that there is a change in version. So then whatever the code you will be putting here, that will get executed. Generally you will be putting the alter code, but for our example I will be putting just drop table code, drop the whole table code. So I will be requiring the context object if I want to use any toast or anything like that inside this. So I will be requiring the context object also. It's good to declare a context object separately here too. Let me just call it ctx. And then I will be requiring a SQLite database object also to perform my SQL queries, mydb. Okay, great. So this is how the skeleton of your SQLite OpenHelper class looks like. Now I will start putting the queries or creating the queries and putting them at their correct position. First, let me just, I want to create the table. So you can see there is already a SQLite database object here. So I will be using this SQLite database object only. SQLite database dot to execute the query. I will be using exe SQL. So this here exe SQL will be used to execute all the DML queries, to handle your DCL or select queries. Your exe SQL will not work. There we will see what we need to do, especially when you are fetching the data from the database. First, let's just create the table. What is the create table query? Create. You could have done this, provided this whole query as a variable at the top and then just pass that variable here also. Both works. Create table. What is the table name? I will concatenate because I have already defined here db underscore table. Then again concatenate, and what I want inside my table, well, I want ID that would be integer. Great. It will be my primary key. Great. And I want it auto increment too. Now make sure whenever you are creating all these queries, they are the syntax is correct for them. If there is any problem with the syntax, it will show you the SQL exceptions and syntax error in the SQL. So this is my first column, ID, integer, primary key, auto increment. And second, I want the name of the student. So I'm gonna put it to name underscore name. It will be a text. You can put varchar also. Then next I'm gonna put as your college name. So college underscore name. Sorry, and it will also be a text. And at the end, semicolon. Don't forget that. And oh yeah, you can see that I haven't put the space here, so it might. It will give you a syntax error if you start putting like that. So make sure whatever the query you are putting, it is correct, and if the query is correct, then only it will get executed. So to make sure that your data is getting executed, you can put log also, telling that database, making sure that you have the control over your code database. Table created. Yeah, and if somebody update your database, there is a change in version. There is already a SQLite database object. I will use this SQLite database. Then again, I will put a query exe SQL. And what's this query this time? Generally, in your real-time database and all, you want to put alter query. Well, here you won't be putting the alter. I will be very nifty-gritty here. I will be directly putting drop table query. It will drop the whole table. Drop table, if exist, of course. If exist, and what's the table name you want to put? DB underscore table. Yeah. So this will be my query, that it will drop the whole table, and again it will call on create by passing that SQLite object. Why is that? Because if there is a change in, let's say right now there are only three columns. If you decide to put fourth column, so you need to run this on create again. So just drop whatever the previous tables were and create a new table, and from there on you can insert in the new table. So this is the whole skeleton of your SQLite Open Helper class, which you need to provide a table name, at least one table name. If you have more table, you can go ahead and put that too. And now you need to provide the methods to insert the data inside the table and to retrieve the data. That you have two ways. Either you can use SQLite predefined methods to insert the data, or you can use the old-fashioned way where you put the queries to insert the data. The SQLite predefined way, you must have already seen that in your Gitbook practicals. I will also, so you have the idea of using the predefined methods now. So I will show you here how exactly you can use the standard way to insert the data inside this particular application. So I will create, to insert the data, I will create public insert public void insert data, and I know I'm going to insert data two columns, so I will just need two strings here, string s1 s2 string s2. So if you are using the modern way, that is the predefined, then you don't need to pass these string, then you will be passing a content value object, a content value class object. So let's just not discuss about that right now. Let's just discuss about this right now when you want to use it with the standard way. Well, for that you need a SQLite database object, which I already have here, but you need to get a writable database object. So how can I get that? My DB, just use get writable database, and once you have that access, now you can put the query mydb.insert mydb.exe SQL and start putting the query. What is the insert query? Insert into the table name. Let's say the table name is what's the table name? DB underscore table, and after that, what are the fields you want to enter? Let's say stu, the column name, stu name, comma, college underscore name, values. And what are the values? The first value is a string, so single quotes, and because I want to concatenate this from the value which I am passing here, so I will put plus plus, sorry, and here I will put, sorry, because I want to pass this s here, value from here, so I will put s double quotes again and concatenate s1. Great. And if there is the second value, that is college name, is again a string, so double quotes. If it wouldn't be a string, if it is not a string, then you won't need to put this these two single quotes here. As it is string, again double quotes, concatenate s2. Great. So the value will be saved inside the table, insert into this table, and inside these two columns with the values, these, and at the end, don't forget to put semicolon. In your exe SQL, you need to put the semicolon. And if the values are saved successfully, just show a toast. That's the reason I included ctx at the top, but I haven't really initialized it, so why not initialize it here? Ctx equals to, sorry, ctx equals to ct. So whenever you initialize your database object, you will get the access of it. So make text ctx object is there, and you give the message data saved successfully. And there you go. And here I can put length short dot show. Great. So this will insert my data inside my database. All I need to do is call this method wherever I want to, from wherever I want to insert the data, and pass two arguments, pass two string arguments. Now, what if I want to access the data? Okay, so for that, public void. Now, if you want to get the data back in a particular data format, you can do that too. Right now, I'm not getting the data back. I will just show it in a toast. So I'm putting void. So public void get all. Now, if you want to get all the data, get all. Otherwise, if you don't want to get all data, you want a specific data, then you will pass that argument here. If you want to get it from ID, then pass ID here, int ID. If you want to get it from by the name, then pass the name. Accordingly, your query will change. So how exactly it will change? Let me just show you. First, I need again a mydb object here, my SQLite database object, but in a writable mode this time. So mydb equals to get, in a readable mode this time. So mydb.get readable database equals to get readable database. And once you get that, now I can do mydb. Now this time, because this is a select query, you can't do exe SQL. You will be doing raw query, or you can do query. In raw query, Raw query is more standard way. In query, you don't have to write the query. You just need to put the table names and all. You will be able to access the table. In raw query, you can write the whole query. Like those who are database lover, they will love this way of inserting the data. Select star from, what is the table name? DB table. That's the first argument. Now, if you have a where clause also, if you want to get a specific data, okay, that's the first clause, and I will just come to that. Okay, so that's all you have to do. Select star from and DB name, and the second argument is null. Second argument is for if you have a where clause and you want to pass the argument for those where clause. How? Let's say you don't want to just get whole data. You want a specific data. At that point of time, the query would increase. There will be a where clause, where S1 or where whatever the ID name, let's say whatever the column name is, ID equals to, and then you must have seen those wildcards you put, question mark and all. And at that point of time, you would be passing the value from here. Let's say S1. There will be int I, and there will be maybe a value, int value, or you are passing at whenever you are getting that, and then you will be passing the value here. Instead of null, you will be passing the value at that point of time, right? But as of right now, this is not my case, and this is not the correct data type which I am passing right now. So that's fine. But you can use. But nobody is stopping you to directly put the value here also. Okay, you can still make it null and put a value directly here also, like this, value, like this. So you can put directly here also and keep it null altogether. So it's up to you how you want to handle it. But as of right now, in my case, I don't want to complicate things here. So just think that I want everything which is there in my table. So get all. So this whole query, select star from table, will give me whatever I have in table, and this whole thing will be returned and saved in a class cursor, CR. So now everything is inside my CR cursor. Now, what I will do is I will create a string builder class, because I will build or format my string now. String builder class, new string, because I will be accessing my string, accessing my cursor now. So I'll create a string builder class, and here I will start iterating through my cursor, CR, move to next. So if my CR, that is cursor, moves to next, so that means there was some data coming back from my database, coming back from my query. So I will start putting that data first of all in a separate string. Let's say S1 will give me the name of the student. So how do I get that? So CR dot get, it's a string, right? So CR dot get string and the column index. 0 is already being taken up by the ID and it is auto incremented, so you don't need to put 0. You will start from 1. Same goes with the second. So this is one row data. So I'm putting row 1 data as CR again, and I'm gonna get string second. Great. And after that, once I have first row data, that is S1 and S2, I'm gonna include that in str, that is a string builder object. I will put them like S1 and then concatenate, give some space, and then again concatenate S2, and then every time one row is done, I will go to the next line. Great. So in this way, first row data will be shown, the name and the college name. Then it will go to next line. Again, it will iterate through the cursor if there is more. Again, the second row data will be appended in a string. And at the end, I can show toast dot make and ctx str, because everything in str now, dot to string and length short. Let me just put it long this time because you guys need to see it properly. And there you go. Show. So that's all you have to do to show your data, right? If there is no problem with the queries and all, we will see that if there is any error or. But I have created my SQLite database class now. So in the same way, you will be creating the queries for update, you will be creating the queries for delete, or you want to access a particular data, you can create a different method and create a different query for that also. So it's all up to you how you want to use your SQLite database class. Now, how do you access it in your main activity? First, you need the object of it. So my core database, let's say my data, and then in the onCreate only, I will initialize it, my data, new my core database, and this is where I pass a context object. And as soon as I do that, it will start, it will come here inside on my onCreate, and it will initialize my parent class here. With that particular database version name, it will call onCreate, and my database scheme will be ready. After that, until I do not insert anything inside this, my database will not be shown. So that's where I would do my data. To insert, what is the method? Insert data, and I need to get two strings here. And from where exactly I'm getting? That is from name and college. So name dot get text to string, that's first parameter, and college dot get text to string. So you could have included these statement in a normal string object and then pass those string object here also. I have done this in one line, so it's fine. And then my data dot to get everything, get all. That's all. So now let's just see if this whole thing works or not. Run. So let's just enter some data. Call it Lalit, IPU, and save data. See, it says data saved. Now let's just click on load and see if the data is actually saved or not. Okay, my application got crashed. Let's see what exactly is the error here. Go to the Android monitor. I'm sure I'm missing something. In get data, what is the error? You can see no such table. Okay, of course there is no such table because instead of table I'm putting what? DB name. I'm putting database name. I should have put DB table. Okay, now let's just open or run this application again. So it does show that my data was saved. So if I load here now, it should show me the data. See, Lalit and IPU. So it was saved before. So the application was already saving the data. So if I enter some more of the data, let's say just this Jocelyn and Howard. And save data, and let me just save one more with me. Okay, my application, my PC was slow. Wait for the application again. simi, I'm going to call it du, save data. And if you try to load the data now, you will see there are three data now: IPU, Jocelyn, and Howells and DU. So I have just shown them in Toast right now. You can decide to show them in a text view or a list accordingly, whatever your need is. If you try, if you go ahead and close your application also, even from here, and go back here and click on SQLite database and try to load it again, see that data remains. So that was a small example on SQLite database. Thank you.